Welcome to episode 8 of Tales from the Gig. This is a very special episode. It's like an after-school special. We don't have an intro this week because we have our first in-studio guest.
I'm here. I'm not Skyping.
You saw him last week in the intro for Mike Boutet's episode.
So long ago.
He's been here for a week.
He's still here.
Wearing
the same clothes.
All I have is black T-shirts.
It's madness.
The
great Joel Edwards, everyone. Bass player to the stars, at least star. He's been my buddy and bass player and keyboard player for several years now. And,
You the star. You the star.
No. Co-writer of my record that someday will come out.
Yes.
Yeah, Joel's playing keys and bass on the live record. That'll probably be out before the studio record.
Definitely.
From Maxwell's.
Easier to mix.
But most importantly, our first in-studio at the new and improved Rebel Bass Studios Mark II.
I'm glad to break it in,
and,
so to speak.
Yes, indeed. Joel did some lighting design for us today. Not only is he bass player and keyboard player, he is a lighting designer and video guy. And I don't know if you guys can hear our dog tap dancing around on the second floor of Rebel Bass Studios. But, yeah, so everyone welcome Joel. We can't blame Skype if the audio's stuttery. So we probably still will, though. But Joel Edwards, how the hell are you, sir? Oh, shit.
Skyping again.
Skype skipping. Sorry. Hold on. We'll rebuffer the connection.
So glad
Joel,
to be here.
We're so glad to have you. So
yeah, we've talked a lot about you.
We have talked about Joel on every episode of this. We say Charlie was the inspiration, but Joel seems to be the underlying theme.
The glue.
The glue. So much so that Mike specifically requested we don't talk about Joel, and then we spent 10 minutes talking about not talking about Joel. So
is that?
Yeah, I don't know how that worked out. But no, Joel's been affiliated with, I think, probably every artist. You've at least played on stage with everyone we've had on the show.
Yep.
I know you've only played probably once or twice with Max.
Right, but everybody else.
But everybody else you've played pretty extensively with. So there's a reason we keep talking about Joel. But yeah, we're going to dig a little deeper because there's a lot of stuff I don't know about Joel, even though he's my buddy. And
dark and checkered past.
Now he and Kevin have gotten to be buddies after playing some shows together.
Right on.
We, as we talked about last week at the start of Mike's episode, Joel came up to play a gig with us in beautiful Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and
lovely gig.
It was a really cool club. It was a little bit of a hidden gem. You wouldn't know it from driving up, but killer sound system and
great people.
Great people
were great to us.
Ed, the owner, guy that runs sound, manager guy is awesome. He did a good job running sound. He was very appreciative and welcoming and warm and fine people up there in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. I think
we rocked it.
They were a little surprised by the music. Would you say that?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
One step
Our
beyond.
set list was probably a little different than what they usually get, but it was also Kevin and I's first time
It was.
playing in a full band setting
situation.
together. So that was pretty awesome.
It was. It was.
What was
like-
your takeaway, Kevin? Let's dig a little deeper since it's the three of us.
I
were
would
your
have liked
thoughts
to
on
at
it?
least rehearse once before
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, but that kept it exciting.
It did.
Once we got settled in, though, what was
Yeah.
your impression?
Oh no, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I was just trying to keep up, basically, as I like to say. But we had some nice. There was some moments. Those moments that we all worked for.
Definitely.
You know, they were there, and that makes it all worth the while overall. No, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel like when you play together as a band, you're trying to form something between us in the air. We're
Yeah.
shaping the air.
Right.
And there are moments when the muse comes down and it sounds great and it's magic.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of those moments.
Yeah,
It
we did.
was
Fresh, like with minimal rehearsal.
Yeah,
Right.
It was
we
pretty amazing.
used the term transcendent last night. That's a little hippy dippy sometimes, but it was. There's musicians that play on stage. You get goosebumps whenever that happens. There's no way to describe it. And it's not. We're not saying that we
Mother Goose.
Yeah, we didn't surpass our ability. We didn't amaze ourselves with our technical prowess. But there's just moments that it's like we're all thinking the same thing. I don't know how else to describe it. Like we're all on the same page. and,
Synchronized.
yeah, linked together, and
Synchronicity, man.
there's nothing
We
better.
should write
than,
a song called
We
that.
should, our whole album. And you get to the end of the song and kind of look around like, holy shit, well,
Yeah.
that happened. All right.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was you feel like you're floating a little bit above the stage.
Well,
So,
an interesting thing is you guys have played together before.
a few times.
So
Once.
I mean,
Yeah.
so you guys know each other.
Yeah.
So that's the part I didn't have.
Just having a new guy in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
That
And
was-
Well,
and you didn't have it as
Yeah,
well with me
yeah, yeah.
before, you know. And I tend to be a little bit of a different player, pretty basic, straight ahead type
not
of
a
things
bad
and everything.
thing. No, it was Joel and I both. There were several moments we looked at each other like, oh, that's fucking yes.
clicked. It
Yeah.
clicked.
Home.
And as a bass player, me and you at your right foot, we got to
Yep.
be like this.
Yep.
And it was.
Well-
it was brilliant.
Well, like I said, in what was it, last week's or no, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
It's hard to figure out where the episodes are. That's
We
why I
just
write
started-
charts out, because I figured you played the bass in those originals. Well, and I should write the parts out, and that way I'm learning them that way, reading them that way, and lining up as best I can with you.
Syncing it up.
Nailed it. That was it was
Yep.
it was great. I had a blast.
Yep.
It was
And on gigs like that, I play very safe.
yeah.
It's
One-
like it's like that Phil comes in your head and said, no, stay home, stay home, stay home, stay home.
That's
stay
the
home.
experience
Yeah.
speaking. That's
Yeah,
that
exactly.
says, yeah.
that you default to underplaying instead of overplaying.
Yep.
'Cause
Not when
I-
you're 20.
I usually do. I'm usually like, I don't know if I
should
should
bring
go
that
for that. I'll just relax. Yeah,
Well,
like Joel said, not when you're 20. Well, Ed even said, I don't know if he said to you or said to Kevin about. Well, you can say what he said. I
Well,
didn't.
just he would players that understand that you can make do with the volume that's on stage,
Right.
and keep your stage volume low, and the mix then out front, he said, was sounding beautiful, and everybody seemed to love it. So
Yep.
the younger players don't understand about keeping your stage volume.
And dynamics, giving the song somewhere to go, and
Taking
leaving
your
yourself
time.
space to get there, and
Well, and we had talked about, like, I was really about half throttle, but that's what required for that night.
The room.
You know what I mean? The room and everything like
and
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
We were not blazing, but we were rocking.
yeah.
But there was a quote. I'm trying to find it. Maybe I'll find it here or something.
E
From
pluribus unum.
Steve Jordan. Talked about how
Thou shalt.
thou shalt be Steve Jordan. I would love to be. No, he was talking about how drummers especially, we struggle with playing simple because we think that, everybody thinks that we're not talented enough because we're only playing this. That's the mental stuff
Sure.
that goes on.
Oh, yeah.
And, you hear so many players playing so many things where you guys are playing a lot of stuff, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, maybe I could get something in here. But
It's a
it
trap.
takes away from the music, and the more I can lay the foundation for you both, the better it's going to be. And it's a mental exercise to
Hold it
overcome
back.
that.
I've been playing with Barry Richmond, a previous guest, for more than a decade, and the drummer in that band, Bill Deal, and I have a tendency. We are so familiar, just like Colin and I can really follow each other off a cliff.
Uh-huh.
And have.
And have. It's like you get an inspiration, like, hey, here's this melody I just heard in my head, and I'm going to play it over this, and we could do that song, and then we'll wander over here for a while, and
It's
it's
like, oh shit, what song were we playing?
where were we?
Right.
And playing
almost
with Barry
happened last night.
Richmond, with Bill Deal, he can really follow. Both of us follow Barry. We know him well, and we follow him off a cliff.
Yeah.
And so both of us have been trying to do what you're saying. The experience tells you to hold it back.
Take a deep breath.
Keep it
Relax a
simple.
little. Everything's
Yes.
Here it is. Here, found it. It says people get nervous and self-conscious about playing simply because they're afraid people will think that they can't play or that they're being dumbed down, which is I can totally
Yeah.
attest to that.
Yeah.
It's what goes on up here. It says you have to get rid of that mentality because not only is it not true, but it doesn't serve a positive purpose in making music. That's Steve Jordan,
Yeah.
one of the
Well,
best.
That's
one of
totally
the absolute best.
perfectly reflective of his playing.
Yes.
Too. Yeah. No, that's.
So
We should all live by that.
we're talking
probably.
about drummers again.
Fucking drummers.
So
Well, every band's got one. So
Yep.
No?
most
No, not
bands
all,
got
but
one.
some have two.
No, those are fun.
Yeah.
One that makes up for the bands that don't have any.
Right.
But anyway, that was our gig. Joel Edwards, our guest.
Thanks. It's been great.
Pretend that there.
Oh.
That was our tale from the gig. But pretend that there's an interlude with music now, and now we have Joel in studio. But Joel, how you doing, buddy?
I'm so fab.
We're so happy to have you.
I'm really excited to be here. I'm so glad we got to do some recording this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some playing live.
We've had a busy
we
weekend.
scratched all the itches. Ate some good
well.
pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Smoked
Family
some
show.
good. What was that?
Campfire.
Not really. Yeah, fuck that. That's well, Joel, we'll take you through the rounds that we normally do with our guests. And I'm sure we'll go off on some tangents as we're known to do. But where for the folks watching or listening that don't know you, give your CV a Reader's Digest of your history, what you do, what instruments you play, what your main focus is.
Hi, I'm Joel. I like walks
Hi,
on the
Joel.
beach.
Hi, Joel.
You prefer long walks on the beach?
Short.
Short.
Give me
okay.
the sand in my toes. That's
Yeah.
enough. I've always loved music. I've started piano lessons when I was 5, and I hated that because my older brothers. I was the youngest, and so I had several older brothers, all of whom played bass or guitar, and so guitar was cool. And when I was 9, I said, "Hey, my brother's playing guitar. Can I play that too?"
Sounds like another famous family of brothers
Oh,
from the Tennessee, Kentucky region.
not quite that, but yeah, Virginia actually.
Virginia, yes. Sorry, yeah.
I'll get to them. But my brother played guitar, and I really enjoyed that, so I picked up his guitar, and because I had 3 years already on piano, I understood, you get the first bits of theory in you, and it starts to make sense. And I switched to guitar, and quickly caught up with my brother, who then switched to drums, because little
Of course.
brother schmuck.
Why shouldn't he?
Little fucker.
Right? So, and then in high school, like they do, they put you in band. And I went in and went to the band music store and ordered a clarinet. And they were out of that, so they gave me a cornet.
Because it kind of sounds like it.
So now I'm a brass player. So I played trumpet in high school in the big bands. I really enjoyed that. In my senior year, all the good trombone players graduated, so I played trombone for a year. Got the John Philip Sousa Award.
Oh,
For
right
trombone,
on.
my
For
first-
trombone, your first year.
My
of
first
it?
year playing it,
Jeez.
which I still have on my shelf.
Yeah,
just
suck
'cause
on that, clarinet players.
I think my son got that.
All
now that I
y'all.
Think about it. Yeah.
And then
should
went
know
to guitar was my main thing. Played in big bands.
Did you play guitar all through?
all
Yeah.
since I was double digits?
Yep.
And loved it. And went to a school in Central Illinois, Millikan University, with a 24-track, 2-inch tape.
Yeah, that's where I
Studio.
We're the same age.
right.
Bunch of old fuckers.
Old dude. Went to a great studio and spent 4 years learning theory, recording. That's my main thing is you don't pay for that time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you're paying for the time, but
Right.
you got to make grades and stuff. But I spent a lot of time recording and learning engineering and learning theory and composition, all that, and enjoyed it a lot. And let's see, moved to Nashville to work at Opryland Theme Park before it was a mall. It was a theme park.
It was a theme park first.
Yeah,
I didn't know
and
that.
I played in the Way Out West Cowboys show, and they make you wear string ties, striped shirts.
Bolo. What is it called? Bolo.
Bolo tie.
Bolo.
Bolo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bolo.
Yeah.
So I also played another. That one was the funniest one. We had a bunch of dancers, and they would do Oklahoma and excerpts from all the musicals.
All right.
And I'm sitting up in the pit,
Ding, 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 ding.
and I got in trouble that one year. Well, first off, it's complicated charts. It's all charted out, and there's some written out lines, and there's some chord stuff. But after you've played it for a week, and then you've got another 5 weeks, or however long you're.
Yeah.
So I got a little bored.
It's like doing Broadway shows.
So I would keep a magazine on the side of my stand and read it while I. But I got busted turning pages between
The wrong pages.
Right. So spent some time at Opryland.
Was that on guitar?
That was a guitar.
Okay.
And then I realized that you could get a job at a studio in Nashville. This is all in Nashville. And serve coffee, wrap cables, and set mics for a year for free.
At least.
And then they decide if they like you and they want to pay you minimum wage.
And you can sweep the floors for minimum
Right.
wage.
So then
And plunge the toilets.
Yeah.
you could go work at a video place where they actually pay you more. My last year in college, they had a primitive SVHS to M2 tape editing system.
Right.
And I fell in love with telling stories that way. Because I was just fascinated with the process. And so after doing the tour of audio studios and realizing that it's a long road to hoe.
Well, and look today, you have less and less studio work.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
everybody's, look, we're doing. We
Yeah,
do it
that's-
ourselves.
We're here.
We're the death of the studio industry.
Yeah.
And so I got a job at a video studio doing the same thing, but at least getting paid, basically. And I was mentored by Pete Cummings, who was the guitar player for Elvis. Elvis had a gospel band that would keep on call, and 19-year-old Pete Cummings was the guitar player for them. He played for Tanya Tucker, the Oak Ridge Boys, and he was a brilliant editor back when editing was tape to tape. And I was his tape assistant. I was swapping tapes and patching cables and making dubs and stuff, and I learned so much from him and got so many intros. Because of Pete Cummings working at this video place, I got to play French horn behind Johnny Cash.
Really?
Okay, then you qualify the story.
I was going to say, wait a minute. French horn
Time to
behind
Tarantino
Johnny
it.
Cash. Okay.
French horn on keyboards. I played some bass, just
okay.
keyboard backing things.
Yeah.
Overdubbing on tracks that Johnny Cash had already done.
Okay.
But Johnny came to the studio and hung out, and we talked to him. And, and
That's
played.
awesome.
See, that's
So,
really cool. He's
yeah.
like one of my early mentors.
He did great stuff. Return to the Promised Land, where he went out and shot a bunch of video of him singing with an acoustic gospel hymns. And we just backed the tracks, gently overlaid overdubs.
I
And,
gotcha, yeah.
So Pete got me into that one. Pete also got me into Big Bong Theory, which is a great heavy band.
Definitely
a
one.
great
Oh, it's a
name.
band.
Explain Big
Shit, I was
Bong
just hoping
Theory.
it was a
No,
process
no,
of
no,
something
no.
we could test out. Or
Tell me the
Something
theory.
involving
Big
a hollow
Bong.
pumpkin. Tell us this theory, Joel.
Big Bong Theory was my experience with Pete Cummings on guitar, doing I don't know what to call it, heavy. Rob Earls was a singer. It was a 4-piece, but the singer, he was this is early 90s when he's got a floor pedal and doing effects and kind of weird stuff with real-time processing.
Yeah.
Before anybody else was doing a lot of that. And the drummer, Randy Bowles, had Gretsch double bass drum with a cable hi-hat on the far side.
oh my god!
And these bass drums,
So they were huge back then.
they would
yeah.
sterilize frogs at
Yeah.
20 paces, man. It was huge. And I'll have to.
So this is what?
Here's where the insert
80s?
will
Yeah.
go.
Stay by my admission.
this in the 80s or so?
Late
What year?
90s.
Late 90s.
Mid-90s.
Okay. So yeah, they were still big drums.
Yes. And so Pete, let's see, I'll go on.
Yeah.
Then I got out of the video world and wanted to get. I wanted to play more. Video has always been my money, but playing is my love. And a drummer friend of mine. It's always about the drummer. It's all about. Right. Mike Swope got me into the Louise Mandrell band.
No shit. I used to watch that show. I was
Not
so
Barbara,
in
not
I
Barbara.
know.
But Louise.
And she was she wasn't the
talented
drummer.
woman. No, Erlene was the
Erlene
drummer.
she was ditzy and blonde and
Yeah,
everything.
every
I'm
bit of
sorry, I was in love with her because
Oh,
she
well,
was a
she was
drummer,
hot.
Drummer.
blonde drummer, female. I mean,
It all comes
Louise
back
was
to
a
the
talented
drummers.
one. Yep. But the drummer had a choice. It got me to audition, and there were two bass players, and the other one was obviously better than me. But they knew these are all road experienced people, and they knew that attitude and compatibility is at least as important as chops. And I learned quickly on the road, and me and the drummer was simpatico, and so it worked out.
Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. I wave it proud. What about you? It gives us freedom to do as we choose. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. I go to war for what I believe in. I stand my ground. I've been given this liberty by the country I love, 'cause the people are tough. We don't back down. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. I wave it proud. What about you? It gives us freedom to do as we choose. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. Are the ones that have gone before us for about the time. Carry on the American feeling that shows that we're proud of our women and men. Lay their lives on the line. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. I wave it proud. What about you? It gives us freedom to do as we choose. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag that we raise. United to God we pray. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. Wave it proud. What about you? Gives us freedom to do as we choose. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue. Come on now. Let me hear it for the red, white, and blue.
So I spent a while on the road with her doing big corporate gigs. I mean, 3,000-4,000 people at
right.
giant corporate events. Went to Hawaii with her, which was fun. But
No real behind the
well,
tales that you want to reveal here.
the one
Don't
story.
worry, Joel. No one's listening.
No one's listening.
No one's listening. Well, it's the positivity story about. All right, I have a bass that needs a battery, active bass, And I'm out there. We're doing the show. Here's the traditional show. Louise Mandrell, she's a talented one. She plays everything.
All right.
So the band is playing the song, and she comes out, welcome, everybody. Here we are. I'm Louise. And it's essentially a blues. But she goes out and plays every instrument on stage. The sax, the guitar,
remember,
the
yeah.
piano a little bit.
Yep.
And I, the freaky bass player, at that point I had hair halfway down my back, I sneak out while she's in the middle of getting from one instrument to the other, and I start taking a solo. Ha ha! I mean, that's how she worded it to me. And then she came up and slipped the bass right out of my arms and started playing her bass, her walking bass thing.
Right.
So I reach around her, and we're both playing the bass. It was a great gimmick.
And this was off the cuff. This was not a planned thing, right?
No, this was completely planned and repeated every time.
Oh.
And so that's why when after a bit of road work with her, she wanted to go back. She came from a theater in Branson.
Okay, yeah.
Branson was a giant where you get a theater, you
Branson
do your
is
show
yeah.
6 days a week, 2 shows. Anyway.
Yeah.
So she then got another theater in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, because that's where that was right when it was puffing up in mid-'90s.
Right.
And growing like Branson had.
Mm-hmm. Now Gatlinburg and all those same, yeah.
And I didn't want to move to East Tennessee and do only that.
And play to 75-year-olds and get the
lot
Salisbury
of
steak
snow,
dinner.
yeah.
And no benefits and no anything.
Yep.
So
Benefits? Music? What?
why would you?
That would be silly.
Not those kind of benefits.
So then I got distracted in my resume and realized that video still pays more than audio.
Yeah.
And I worked at WCW for a few years, World Championship Wrestling.
Mm-hmm. I did some of their shows at the Bryce Jordan Center years ago.
Woo! I kicked his ass. I was a heavyweight. I was an editor. I was the guy that went out with the on the Monday night show. They do all the matches. All the footage comes with us to the Tuesday night show, like Monday Nitro and Thunder. Anyway, in the Tuesday night show, I had to edit all the little in between matches videos that explained why this guy is mad at this guy.
Mad at that guy, right? Storyline stuff, yeah. Okay.
And
You were producing the soap opera.
I wasn't producing it, but I
Or
was
you were editing the
yes,
soap
yes.
opera. Yeah.
And had to have those ready for the Tuesday night show, and that they didn't take me out on the road long because that was at that point they were getting off tape-based systems and just oh, here's the footage. So we'd send the footage, internet, or some of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it was still tapes. Anyway, I got distracted with that for a while, and then I joined August Christopher right before I moved down to Atlanta for that gig. And August Christopher, do I have to say his name? I do. Chris Cheatham.
Joel has a complicated relationship. For anyone that wants to see a misrepresentation of Joel's personality,
All or Nothing.
there is a documentary on Amazon that I have purchased and watched. It's called All or Nothing. It does feature Joel's time with August Christopher, but feeling that I think I know Joel just about as well as anyone, I would say he's misrepresented.
Call it contact, like a baseball bat. It shouldn't take a bomb threat to figure me out.
For every famous rock band out there, there's probably 10,000 bands you've never heard of that never made it. August Christopher was one of those bands. No manager, no booking agent, no record label. We just did everything ourselves. And this is our story.
It's in my pocket, but I'm ready to go. And I walk in real slow, eyes on the door, clean shave, haircut, and my good cologne. The girl
The only thing I know about him is that the guy's out of control.
I don't know why, no matter how hard I try, I can't break this spell.
There was a time that I considered August Christopher the next hottest band in America. To me, it's always been a rock and roll tragedy that they never got signed and never got that chance.
I was alone with our baby, and I didn't know where he was, and it was really hard.
Here I am, 34 years old. I got no money. My van just blew up. I've got no insurance, as you can see, no 401k, and the only thing that I'm good at is music. This is it.
was a lot of fun. We played a lot of music, a lot of rock and roll around a lot of places, and to me that band was a lot of the same shtick that, like I learned with Louise. It's hey, improvisational show.
Right. The same every night, so that it's come. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the August Christopher was not the same every night, but we had a bag of tricks that we could all, as we do.
Mhm.
You hear that 3 notes of
Yep,
that thing.
I know where we're going.
I know that one. Let's
Yep.
hit that one.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go over here. Hey, and just the show was every bit as important as the sound, which was foreign to me as a music student, as a college.
It's all about the sound.
It's
Yeah.
about the music right
Yep.
here,
Yeah.
and the show is extraneous and
The show
unnecessary.
is the music. They're there to listen.
They should be, damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I got over myself and realized
Nope, nobody cares.
nobody cares.
So your time with August Christopher, and then you moved to Atlanta.
And I continued to play with August Christopher up in Nashville and Kentucky for several years
From Atlanta.
from Atlanta.
No.
Driving up every weekend to 6 hours to Lexington and missing out on kid time. At this point, I had a couple of kids, so it was.
As we all tend to do.
Those are the road balancing things where you got to make the family time when you can. But then follow the muse.
Yes.
You can't not do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So in Atlanta, Barry is has been your main,
Then I
time wise at least.
Yeah, it was mid 2000, like 2006 or 7. The story of Barry Richmond is funny. I went to
Episode 3 of Tales from the Gig featuring Barry Richmond.
hashtag back at the old Knicks in Marietta, which was a club that had some great music.
Oh yeah. Before they opened the wall, when it was still, or had they opened the wall at that point? Did you play there before?
No,
Oh, so it used to be. Oh, I know something before Joel.
Wow.
old man.
So back when I played there in like 2001, 2002 with Patrick Vining, where the bar ends, like with the pass through, that was a wall. And you had Nick's Place was the restaurant, and the back porch was the bar and club. You came in from the deck. It was it was owned by the same people,
Of course.
but it was a completely separate club. And I remember I got out of the scene for a few years, coming back and booking Nick's, and it was all open, and the rest was as gross as the bar.
It was
it
gross.
was so gross. But I can't believe I know of something of a club before Joel.
See, that was the early 2000s when I
Yep.
was with August Christopher,
Right,
before I
yeah.
started playing with Barry and playing
Yeah,
locally.
yeah.
I remember at Nick's, it was so gross, kneeling down and setting my
Oh.
stuff up on that carpeted
And you
stage.
get up and your jeans are
I
stained.
couldn't, it's
That's
stuck.
like
My
worse.
knees.
The hell?
Goodbye. AugustChristopher.com. Ladies and
How do you
gentlemen,
make
Chris
this
Cheatham.
stop?
Please. You can't. This is why.
can't stop the rock.
website just
You
yells
can't
at you.
stop. Just turn your volume
God,
down.
I'm
Just you can't stop the rock.
Jesus.
So,
hell?
So
I-
autoplay on the website.
Yes.
This is- oh, that's definitely getting left in. That's amazing.
thanks, Chris Cheatham. But yeah.
Oh, I hate that so much. Anybody who's out there designing websites for us, don't let your page do that.
That's great.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll say it. I'll take the heat or whatever. That's fucking
Oh,
stupid.
That was great.
That was good.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Jesus. So Barry.
They
30
have,
seconds of laughter later.
Yes.
before we go
So
on,
go
though,
back.
they have a link to your MySpace.
What?
To Joel's
To
MySpace.
Joel's
Wow,
My.
MySpace?
It's
We
right
got
there.
history here.
Joel
people.
Edwards music.
Am I in your top 8, Joel?
Holy
Am I in
shit.
your-
I haven't seen
Joel
that page.
Edwards still has a MySpace, guys.
It's
I
old.
figured you would enjoy that.
Oh
That's
my
why I interrupted.
gracious.
That's
Holy
amazing.
I never knew.
Oh my!
Mark that one.
Right on.
We gotta save that. We'll send a screenshot of your MySpace page.
Frank Zappa apostrophe. That's all I cared about forever.
Oh, that's great.
So Barry Richmond was playing at Nick's back porch, and I heard he was looking for a bass
A
player
long-standing stint on the first Friday of the month there.
for 15 years. Like I've played with him since 2007, and he was before that
yeah,
still.
yeah. He was doing that when I was playing with Patrick back when it was still just the back porch.
Moons.
Yeah.
So
First Friday of every month, right?
First Friday of
Yep.
every month
Yeah.
forever.
And come hell or high water, Barry played that gig.
With rotating band as
yeah.
it came through.
Yeah, yeah.
But so I went in to check out this some guitar guy. I really hadn't heard of him before. I had been playing in August Christopher, which mostly was based in Tennessee and Kentucky, and so okay, let's go see what this guy's about. I hear he's a great guitar player, and I come in at the end of the set when he's doing Barry's Boogie, which is a variation on Beck's Boogie, which is a blues thing that you do the turnaround, and at the end of the turnaround, Barry would interject a fill or a riff or something that you recognize. Oh, he's going to do that song.
A little quote, yeah.
And then we come back to the blues, and depending on the crowd, sometimes you get and sometimes you get play the song, play the whole song, stop teasing us, and so he goes through that at least a dozen different riffs, and every time you're like, oh yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And for me and Bill, the drummer, it was tough because it was different every time. He didn't do the same order. He had the same bag of tricks, but we never knew the order. Then once we've done this, a dozen times through the thing, and this, so I'm watching this. This is the first time I've seen this, and I was amazed. After he's done a bunch of series of them, they break and they go into not quite double time, faster time, and then you're trading that break at the end of a blues round, and I would take one, the drummer would take one, the singer would sing something out of some hook, and then Barry would come back and we'd do a couple of rounds of that. And he always liked going one step further than we were obviously prepared for. Where I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I got 8 bars. I got 7 bars. Oh, shit. And so, but I saw that for the first time at Nick's and said, that's fun. Mm-hmm. And Barry's just hellacious guitar player.
Yes.
So I've been playing with him since then.
Yeah. Right on.
Right on.
It's a hell of a resume, Joel.
And then
How did you get away for the weekend?
I told everyone I was dying.
This is a Make-A-Wish trip. Yeah, and then just to plug myself and us.
There's those butt jokes again. Sorry.
Inappropriate.
Terribly.
Where do you remember where we met? I don't know when.
I feel like it was Barry was having you sub as a singer.
No, we had to have met before. Was that? So it would have been what, 3-4 years ago?
Was it early?
I don't know.
Y'all are old.
Probably at a jam. That was what I was thinking, at Darwin's or at one of the jams.
Wait, no, maybe yeah. It was old Darwin's.
Old Darwin's.
Or real
that
Darwin's.
Sounds right. It may have been, I hosted with John McKnight and Schwenke a couple times. I wonder if it was one of those.
Because I love that rhythm section is amazing.
When he did the pro jams. I know I hosted one of those in like 2015 or 2016, right when I'd gotten back on the scene and was trying to get out and meet the people who were on it now because it was all different. Barry and Frankie were the only 2 that were still around. But yeah, so I got to sub with Barry's band, which we talked about on Barry's episode, for the great Jeff Robinson, and flex my vocal chops a little bit more than I was used to.
And also play guitar. That was the thing that always... Yeah. Well, playing guitar with Barry
I'll never pass up that opportunity, but the first time was fucking terrifying. And Barry doesn't make it that way. He's one of the nicest and most gracious players, but just knowing Barry and knowing his resume,
his
and just
capabilities,
seeing him fucking play.
Oh my gosh!
And then he's like, "All right, buddy, go ahead." And you're like, "Why? I don't want to." Like,
no,
you go.
You do it. Chunky,
okay, you
chunky,
keep
chunky.
going.
Sorry, my lead's broken. I can't do it.
I'll just play here.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Chunka.
Barry's been really nice lately too. As I've been playing with him, I mentioned I started on piano. I've started playing keyboards with him lately, which is. When you play with anyone for a long time, you can fall into a rut.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I always try to kick myself in the butt to make myself not fall in a rut.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't get it.
Okay. And so I've been playing keyboard, bass, and then either electric piano or organ with the right hand. And I find that so much more challenging. Because it's not my first instrument, and so it makes everything new and fresh and exciting. And
well, that's one of my favorites. Was I remember at that jam Charlie hosted at that shitty place over off of Johnson Ferry. What was the? It had like 15 different names. It was Abbey Road at one point. It was it had a bunch of different names.
Abbey Road was the one I remember.
I remember going out there and hanging out, and
Maybe that's where we met.
may have been it.
Yeah.
Because I remember knowing of you as a bass player and seeing you with Barry. Because Barry Nix, the Friday night, was one of the first things I went to when I got back. When Chelsea and I got together, she kind of pushed me to get back in the scene. I wasn't really playing out at all. And I had been doing like some duo stuff, and I had that Crashing Midnight, the band that I had back then, which was like modern rock. It wasn't anything what I was used to. And she kind of pushed me, and I went to Locals. I don't know if you remember that place over off of like North Kennesaw, Woodstocky area.
Yeah, I know. I've played
It was
there.
off of like Wade Green, or it was that place with the weird multi-level stage. They had like risers.
Oh
in
yeah,
different
with
places.
the
Yeah.
barriers.
So they'd
for-
set up, and you'd have like a guitar player up here and a bass player.
Yes, I
yeah.
went to the jam there.
That was the first one I went to and met Charlie. And then I remember he told me he hosted that Sunday night thing. I think it was still Sundays then, or Thursdays or whatever it was at Abbey Road.
At Abbey.
And I remember sitting there and you coming in and everybody being like, "That's Barry Richmond's bass player." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is. That is." And but you had your little keyboard, your tiny organ under your arm. And I'm like, "What the hell's he doing with that?" You start playing keys. I was like, "Motherfucker!" Like he plays keyboard too. Like, okay, I've told that story on a couple episodes now of. And that was like, well, I'm going to steal him from Barry. That's definitely what's going to happen.
Well, I was a little 37-note keyboard that I kind of started doing that about 3 years ago. I started bringing that out. It was laptop based.
Yeah.
But bringing that out where every jam is filled with the guitar players. And when I would go to the Darwin's Jam, the last time I went to the Darwin's Jam, there were 6 bass players there. And every one of them was a
Yeah.
Daryl.
Schwanky. Yep.
Steve May,
Brad Canada, probably. Oh, yeah, he's a different
He
ilk.
was a baby at that point.
Yeah, he's probably 13.
But anyway,
Yeah,
so
serious players, yeah.
I was looking for a hole to fill musically.
That's what she said.
Okay. And so I brought my little organ. Oh, this is going downhill.
Well, now you have a normal-sized organ, Joel. It's grown.
So-
It's okay to have a little organ when you start out.
Right. And I remember He Sang, She Sang.
Oh, I love those guys.
They're great, and she was always so interested in my tiny organ. This is not sounding good. Very supportive. They would come to the
Yeah.
Darwin's Jam too,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I love what they do.
To
And
celebrate your tiny organ.
every once in a while, they would let me sit in with them a little bit. Which is fun.
He sang, she sang, Kevin. It's a husband and wife duo. I'm going to feel bad. Bran is the...
Yes.
And I don't know her name. I feel so bad.
Alba?
Or we'll have to look it up. I'm so
suck.
sorry. I know
Cut
both
this.
of them.
Cut this.
Yeah, but they do. She plays piano. He plays acoustic guitar. But they do really cool like reimagined covers. They don't do any covers straight. So they're a cover group. And I do have some originals, but it's all like really coolly reimagined. So when they come out to jams, that was always fun.
They're great.
But anyway, so Darwin's Jam. But yeah, so Abbey Road was where you brought that keyboard out, and I remember. I think pretty soon after that, I did that first sub gig for Barry. But yeah, then I put you and Bill on a gig at Abbey Road, which was a blast. You wore your tie-dye pants. I remember that was that was intense.
Do we have a picture of that?
Mace
Yeah,
Hathaway.
we have video of that on YouTube. Yeah.
I'm a tie-dye pants wearer.
Yep. And yeah,
Whole family tie-dyes.
There was a
Plugging.
kindred spirit. I think when we started playing together, it was a lot of fun.
From the beginning of playing with you, even like it was when we started. I don't know when we started doing your originals, and I got your first album,
Yeah.
and we started playing together some of that, and started writing some of the stuff
Yep.
together, and it just. I've always felt very comfortable with you.
Yeah.
You know, brother from another mother. We play well together. We think along the same lines.
For better or worse.
We agree that humor belongs firmly entrenched in
We take
music.
everything's only thing we
seriously
take seriously is the music.
That should be right. So,
Well, yeah, and so yeah, Joel of Barry Richmond. So do you remember your very first gig? What you would consider your first gig on any instrument, since you are a multi-instrumentalist?
I know I was playing guitar at about 9 or 10, and my elementary school did a chicken crowing on Sourwood Mountain. Hey, ding dong diddly alley day. So many pretty girls, I
what?
can't count them. Hey, ding dong
A
diddly alley day.
chicken doing what on the mountain?
It's called Sourwood Mountain. It's a traditional
Southern thing.
and my class all played spoons.
They threw a hootenanny.
except for me. I knew
Do
how
you
to
know
play the
all
guitar.
those jokes about the Southern people and stuff? You're just like fucking justifying them, right?
I'm from Chicago. What are you talking about? So anyway,
Oh man,
this
chicken
was
something on the mountain.
chicken crowing. You know
Chicken
how it
crowing?
anyway.
How a chicken is known to crow.
Every morn upon the rise of the
We
sun.
just blew Kevin's mind.
So I had to play guitar. My first gig was playing guitar for my band.
That's early. That might be the youngest first gig we've had.
I think I was 9.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I
And I remember this because I have a picture. I'll send you media. I remember this because I was so. Oh my gosh, this is me again. I was so, you can see in the picture, I was so annoyed. There's a guy immediately behind me who was not playing in time.
Oh,
he was
that's
not
so
playing the
Joel.
spoons in time.
trust me, guys. Last night. Yeah,
No, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. I can't get that shit straight. Anyhow, because we're in the future right
We are.
now, but we're actually in the past when they're hearing it. So whatever. But yeah. You kind of are intimidating on stage.
You have a presence about you that can be intimidating for the uninitiated. I thought for the longest time that you hated everyone and me because you're shy. And I tell people now, I warned Kevin about it. I'm like, you'll think he doesn't like you. That's just not how Joel talks musically. And we're all that way to an extent. You're just more extreme in both cases. You're an extreme musician, but you also have that same... You do a lot better talking through your music than off stage.
I'm much more comfortable.
Through the night, there was different times he turned to me. And of course, I'm using in-ears.
Right, so you can't hear what the
and
hell
he's
he's
saying
saying.
to me, and I'm like, reading lips. I'm like, did he think that? What the fuck?
Well,
Watch his fingers. Watch his fingers.
That's why I love watching performance videos to see that the moments of communication. To me, that's as entertaining as the music. When you see
Oh, yeah.
glances and you
Somebody's
see
giving a
those
cue,
volumes
yeah.
go between.
Yeah.
No, not
You see
that.
you see the metadata.
Just transferring.
That to me is the most educational.
Oh,
at
I
this
love
point.
those moments. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people don't notice those. And then I'm watching it along, and I'm telling them, they're like, oh, I never noticed any of that shit. And I was like, yeah, that's a musician thing.
Well, and that's like you were saying before 2 weeks ago when we were recording our video for YouTube. But you were saying about like our poor spouses and girlfriends, like we can't take us to concerts because that's the stuff we look for.
I know.
We look.
We're not
for
listening
that.
to music.
No, we don't even notice the fucking music.
We're trying to figure out what gear they're
We're just
using
Mark
and
Broussard.
who's
The
talking
whole
to each
night,
other.
I was watching the rhythm section because
Oh,
they
the
do not
drummer.
take their eyes off of each
Yeah.
other, and it was so cool to see. It's like, hey, pros do it just like we do.
Yeah.
Like,
And we learn more from their interactions.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But the whole night, I mean, Mark's voice was incredible. But the whole night watching those guys read each other and
I know, and like you said, the spouse is sitting there, and we see something, we start chuckling. They're like, "What are you laughing about?" I was
Somebody
like,
just
we
text
just
you a
figured it
joke?
out.
Yeah.
We just saw he was laughing because he made
It's just
one
like,
little
why aren't
wrong
you singing
note.
along
Or,
like everyone else,
Yeah.
you sack of shit. Like,
Right.
My perfect example of that was Hall & Oates. Chelsea and I went to see Hall & Oates a few years ago with some friends at Lakewood in Atlanta. Big outdoor amphitheater. We had lawn seats, and we're sitting there. And I had read, of course, on the way there, reviews of previous shows on the tour because I wanted to see what we were getting into. And it was Trombone Shorty and the female singer that passed away a few years ago that has the Dap Kings as her backing band. You know who I'm talking about.
I do.
Great singer. Real
Yes, she was
soulful,
amazing.
like neo-soul, not neo-soul, like neo R&B
Yes.
type doo-wop type stuff. But either way, I had read in the reviews that like Daryl Hall had been feuding with their front of house guy, the guy that's doing all their in-ear mixes, and that every other show on this tour he had stormed off stage
Oh my
at some
gosh.
point, and it lined up that our show was the on night, and I was like, "Fuck yes!" So I'm watching it. They've got him on the huge screens, and 2 songs in, I see him look over and go like this, and I grab Chelsea's hand. I'm like, "It's happening!
It's happening!"
And she's like,
Look,
"What?
look,
What?" I'm like, "He's gonna storm off the fucking stage."
He's pissed.
And I see him like cover his mic and yell something like, "Oh shit, it's on!" And he didn't storm off, and I was upset the rest of the concert. And it was a great show. I was like, "God damn it!" Like I wanted to see him have a complete meltdown. And, but he had the most amazing band behind him, and yeah, it was good. But no, that's the shit we look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was.
I'm the same way with video. Having spent all the time professionally in video, I have a hard time suspending disbelief watching a movie. It's a really good movie that can.
We saw it watching Inside Out with my 1.5-year-old the last 2 mornings. Joel watching the 3D rendering of
Yeah,
the Pixar movie.
We're watching
He was
the
up
little
on
fur
screen,
on the
like-
face, and we're trying to figure all that out. And the shadowing,
Yep.
yeah.
I'm just all about process. I'm fascinated by it, and so I like to pick everything apart. That's
Yeah.
what I do musically too.
Yeah.
We're in a musical situation. Every situation I've been in, musically, even when it's not my job, I stick my nose into it because I feel like I got something to say,
Well,
for
that's-
better or worse.
Yeah, no, that was what made recording this record so much fun and tough. Some days there were days where it's like, fuck, I give up. Like I don't want to do it because they're so. But you made it better. You know, there was a lot of stuff we wrote together too. Was very. It was like, no, let's take it a step further. Like let's go a little further with it.
And that was so good because I really felt like we meshed well. We filled.
Filled each other's holes.
This has been going on for days. Oh, jeez.
Puzzle piece.
Poor Kevin.
I was going
Poor
with the
Kevin's been
puzzle
stuck in
piece.
the middle of this for 4 days.
Puzzle. We fit together well.
Yes, like a jigsaw. Oh my God.
Here, pass this around.
Yeah.
I think it might be dead for some reason.
Keeping us from, my weakness is you are strong in, and vice versa.
Yes, indeed. So, do you remember your first paying gig?
Paying gig.
And we've made a rule: any amount of money, but it has to be money. Yeah. It can't be a barter gig.
My best friend in high school was a drummer.
It's another drummer story.
Goddamn drummer.
I have always, even as a guitar player, I would sync with the drums, and it's always about the rhythm section. Brian McDermott and I hooked up early as just musicians. We were both in the jazz band in high school. He was a drummer, and we were both ne'er-do-wells. And before marching band, I was playing trumpet in marching band, and so we would see if we could shotgun a couple of Strohs before we go to high school. I mean, it was
Standard high school.
standard.
Yeah,
And
never done that.
I remember at one point
Still doing that.
we were shotgunning them back in the low brass section, and we ended up not knowing what to do with the empties, so we stuck them in the euphonium.
Nice.
We got in trouble for that.
Just about the only good use for a euphonium.
Well,
as a
you know.
euphonium player of many years.
Low brass.
Yes.
I remember my brother and I worked the Preakness down in Baltimore, a big
Yeah.
horse race.
Yeah, yeah.
And some reason or another, we got a case of beer or something like that or whatever. And there was a lot of other stories about that anyhow. But for like the whole next week, we kept going out to my truck and during school because we had a guitar case full of beer and it was behind the seat.
One more. Yep.
Can you check my guitar?
And they were all lined up in the case.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
When I was in high school, Blues Brothers came out, and it was shot in Chicago, and I was going to high school in the near west suburbs of Chicago.
cool.
So the Blues Brothers were huge to me.
yeah,
and
me
which is
too.
why I came at it from the Blues Brothers, but Sam and Dave and Otis Redding and Al Green and Booker T, that is my wheelhouse. That is the stuff I grew up on and loved.
I didn't come to all that until later in life. I mean, I was big on the Blues Brothers, but those things just didn't. There was a lot of country music in my house.
Was that
all the
Chess
time.
Records or Stax? Not
Stax.
Stax. Stax. Is that?
Stax.
From Muscle Shoals.
Yep.
Muscle Shoals and everything, yeah.
Booker T and the MGs,
Yep.
Steve
Oh,
Cropper,
Yeah.
Duck
Oh,
Dunn.
Steve Cropper.
Just that stuff I sucked up. Secondarily, because I don't care what you say, Paul Schaefer is a god. And the way he managed that band okay, anyway.
You're not going to convince me. Such a douchebag.
So, we're playing. We're trying to do Blues Brothers covers. Me and my buddy Brian playing in his basement.
And you're playing guitar at this
I'm playing
point?
guitar,
Okay.
and it's guitar and drums.
So White Stripes does the
White
Blues
Stripes.
Brothers.
We hear and we're trying to do some sort of Blues Brothers stuff, but we don't know what we're doing. And we hear some voice from outside saying, "Boys, you know what you're doing down there?" And it was the Mutt and Jeff, this is the west side of Chicago. Two old black dudes came by and heard us playing through the window of the basement. And eventually they came and sang for us. And we got a bass player and two horns, and we did. It wasn't.
So you basically lived the commitments.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. Oh,
pretty cool.
and we played. I'm not sure if this was the first paying gig, but we played a couple of outdoor things that you could as a high school student.
Right. Yeah.
But we actually won the Taste of Oak Park.
Yeah.
It was Oak Park.
I've heard of that award. Yeah.
For Best Entertainment as a 9-piece band.
That's awesome.
With horns and...
Were the other guys adult other than you
no,
and your
this is
buddy?
all high school.
Other than the two singers.
The two singers.
Yeah. No
But
kidding.
we had
That's really
horns
cool.
because we were in the jazz
Oh,
band.
well, yeah, that makes sense. You just bring guys from the jazz band.
Trumpet, sax, I think we had 2 trumpets. Anyway.
Yeah.
And we got paid for that one and won an award.
That's awesome.
And it's been downhill since.
You peaked at 17. Do you have a, I know there's so many, but do you have a favorite gig memory?
No, a favorite gig memory. I mean, they're all...
Whether that be a favorite gig that you've ever played or just something that happened at a gig that you remember.
After gig, crazy shit, something that stands out in their mind, you're reminded of often.
It's always the incidentals to the gig. The music is there, but it's the things about a gig, the trappings of the gig that are memorable are the around the gig stories. When I first started playing bass in college, I was a guitar player in college. I got a degree in classical guitar, but I was playing in the small fusion ensembles, 2 horns, guitar, bass, drums, doing Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, that's where I got turned on in college. Yeah,
Right.
Yellow Jackets, big time.
That kind of stuff.
Robin Ford was a founding member. Most people don't realize that.
I didn't know that
realize
either.
that.
On sax and guitar.
What?
He is a monstrous alto sax player.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow. So the guitar player, Emerson Swinford, by the way, Emerson Swinford, I went to school with some motherfuckers at...
Sounds that way.
I was in a band. We were called Bunch of Hacks. We were all music majors. We had 2 drummers, and we were doing this great jammy stuff that I thought was all jazz improvisation. And I found out about 6 months into the gig that we're just playing Dead covers. I was not familiar with the Dead so much.
I'm not even really either.
So I didn't know.
Man, this free jazz improvisation we're doing, it's pretty out there, but it's great.
I love this. Why are you doing that? Okay, why is everyone yelling, Jerry?
Who the fuck is Jerry?
But through college, we would do buy a cup at the door. We play in the basement, paid our rent for 3 semesters. Bunch of hacks. So the drummer, the bass player in that band went on he's teaching in Austin, Texas, plays bass with Christopher Cross, and I'm going to mess up the rest of his resume, so I'll stop. But Emerson Swinford.
Al.
The guitar player in this fusion ensemble that was in school, Emerson is now the lead guitar player for Rod Stewart,
Jesus.
the musical director, and actually co-wrote some songs on his last album. And the guitar player in the Power Rangers in the early 90s. He did all those guitar parts. Monster guitar player. So
gig's a gig, man.
Emerson was the guy that when we would have a snow day at college, we all go out and get drunk and snow down the hill and ski and have not ski tray cafeteria trays and bust our asses and get drunk and have fun and come back to our dorms and find that Emerson has spent the last 8 hours doing scales. He's that
He's
guy.
that guy. Yep.
And
We
so
all went to school with that guy.
so we're on a class trip to Colorado for a small ensemble competition in college. I'm playing bass in this ensemble, and I'm rooming with the guitar player because we're both really guitar players, and they figure put those guys together. And he's sitting on his bed practicing, and I'm like wandering around being a derelict. And I look out the door, and some guy is walking, looks like another derelict, but some old fart looks and starts leaning in the door and is like, "What are you playing, man?" I'm like, "We're getting ready for a big gig." And I was all hoity-toity, and I kind of dismissed him and was like, "We got stuff to do." And Emerson has got his jaw down, Emerson Swinford, the guitar player, and he looks at me afterwards and said, "That was Mike Stern."
Oh, Jesus.
Mike Stern, the guitar player, they were the headliners. Michael Brecker and Mike Stern.
Yep.
Mike Brecker.
Yeah.
Playing, and I have shots. I didn't realize it till later. I'm taking pictures, and he's saying, "That's the guy that came in."
Right, came to the dorm or wherever.
I was
guy
front
you were
row.
dick to.
Yeah, you were an asshole to him. That's awesome.
So I got a history of asshole.
Yeah. My favorite gig story, and I've saved this until you came on because you're involved in it,
Oh, joy.
was my last gig in Georgia at Copperhead Lodge. And it was a moment on that gig you'll remember when I bring it up, but that was a very emotionally charged weekend. And we were all feeling it. I think it was me, Joel, Charlie, and Daryl, so it was the band. And we were out on the deck of Copperhead Lodge, and this insane lightning storm came through and, like, shut us down. Like, and we were playing, what song were we playing? Something pretty intense. Maybe it was Red or one of ours, but like hurricane winds, like blowing rain into the deck. And I thought that was like our last moment, and it was the most like cathartic, epic. Yeah, I mean, it was even like all the people that all of our people from the cigar bar drove up the 2.5 hours to Blairsville to the gig.
We're back on the deck.
It was because it was our last. We had played the cigar bar the night before, but Joel wasn't there.
Right.
And I think that was the first Friday you had with Barry. Actually, I know it was because it was like July 1st. Yeah. So, so we booked this Copperhead Lodge gig so that it could be the four of us for the last show. And we had probably 30 or 40 people from the cigar bar out on this deck. And they were all like, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, we're playing and, like, the lightning's going off in the background.
Wind blowing there.
Oh, my God. It was insane. We cut the song short because, I mean, we thought we were, like, I mean, it was raining on our amps and raining on the PA.
Blowing in.
Yeah. We stopped for 45 minutes. And just when we were about to call it, it lets off. We play the rest of the show. And Michelle, the lady that owned the bar, didn't know it was our last show. So we got through to the end. None of us were emotional. Like, we were all hiding it well, you know.
I'm strong.
Yeah, and Michelle comes up. She's like, "I'll give you $50 if you'll play Purple Rain." And I was not thinking. I'm like, "Yeah, sure. That's a pretty emotional fucking song."
Yeah.
So we get into it. I'm fine. I'm out in front of the guys. I'm not losing it. I hadn't said anything over the mic because I knew if I did, I'd lose it.
Right.
And I look back and Daryl's sobbing. I lost it. It was such a shit show. We couldn't get through the last verse. Charlie's crying. Joel didn't say anything to anybody. He packed his car and just left.
I'm out. I can't talk to anybody. No people.
Oh, it was awful. That was our last show. Yeah, that's my
For a while.
Our last show as a Georgian. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I shan't be moving back.
Yankee.
I am. I'm a transplant. Well, yeah. What, Kevin? What do you got for Joel?
What do you got for me, Kevin?
We've talked gear. Everyone who knows Joel knows StickerBass. So that's what is StickerBass? It's a Fender bass of some sort, but give the lowdown on StickerBass. StickerBass has its own Facebook page, by the way.
Yeah.
It's StickerBass trademark.
I've just now figured out, being an old fart, how to tag things with StickerBass because
Literally just now.
Just
like
now,
25
moments
minutes
ago.
I
was playing a Padula, my beautiful Padula I bought from John Fremgen, that fabulous bass player that plays with Christopher Cross and various others. Chicago. No, that was Tony, the other guy. Anyway, beautiful bass, $2,000 5-string, gorgeous, flat. I loved it. It was beautiful. I'm playing with August Christopher. Chris Cheatham is a fantastic drummer. He's a singer for August Christopher. He wanted to get out in front of the drums so that he could get more attention, we'll say.
of the female persuasion.
Just saying.
Why? Wasn't he getting any behind the drums?
Evan's never had that problem, ladies.
So,
got me in way too much fucking trouble. So I don't. Yeah. Mistakes.
We'll delve into that in another episode.
mistakes. Wait, where was
StickerBass.
So, banging, jumping around on stage, pretending we're a punk band. Cheatham kept on bumping into my beautiful bass, and I, rather than have a cow, in addition to having a cow, I went to Guitar Center and played all 20 cheapo basses on their wall, and kept on taking. Not that I'm obsessive or anything.
No.
I would take every bass to the setup guy and say, if you tighten these and maybe adjust to the neck, this would be a much better bass. Hey, this one needs a little bit of. By the way, this intonation is.
Yeah, my son, when he gets his bass back, is gonna be like, "Whoa, the fuck!"
Well, I set that 5 up nice, and I found one that spoke to me. It was a black precision Chinese off-brand. It's a Fender El Cheapo Squire-ish, made in China.
Yeah.
But the neck was beautiful, and everything else, it was set up nice. I've since got Jonathan Holland pickups put in it, so it's got custom wiring. and GoPro attachments. So
Yeah.
just in case I need to
In
add
case
some,
you need to go pro.
because Lord knows. And as soon as I got dinged up after the first gig with August Christopher, I started just covering up the dings with stickers. And it got thicker and thicker and sticker and thicker and sticker.
I like to think that's the tone, is the stickers, is where the tone comes from.
It can't hurt
Yeah.
much. It's comfortable. It's home. I've got several other basses, 5 strings and stuff that are fun to play, but I feel like those are my Sunday go to meeting basses. And StickerBass is, let's have some fun. Let's just whip it out.
Yeah.
It's got a jazz neck, so thin neck. It's got those custom pickups, so it sounds beautiful. And it's comfortable. I've always had those small boutique amps too,
Yeah.
Gens Benz, and several models of those.
So whose picture is in StickerBass thing there?
That's me
Oh, that is you?
with my tie-dye pants.
It just doesn't look like you. For me, well, you got the goatee thing going.
Yeah, different
he was
beard.
very, is that with the long and luxurious hair?
No, this
Oh.
this is my zapping
Oh, right,
StickerBass.
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, lower down there, you can see Jew, but that didn't look like you. I thought maybe you were.
I'll send you some of the pictures. Actually, you can see on my Facebook page of when I was with August Christopher. I had y'all hippie hair,
Yeah. It was long and luxurious.
and so but since I've been doing the video work and the corporate work and having to look,
Somewhat
corporate.
presentable.
and every time I just got all fuzzy, I started looking homeless. So,
Yeah. There's a stage you go through as it grows.
never get through that dumbass stage
Nah.
to the hip as hell, the
Super
cool looking,
the cool
super
daddy-o.
cool.
We try.
I just let mine go because I said fuck it.
Yeah.
Looks
I
good.
look like Bobby Hill from King of the Hill when my hair is short, so I keep it long. So,
Yes, sport.
as a founding member of Soundhouse, I'd love to get your input on that. We talked probably half of the talk with Mike last week that about Soundhouse. I think it's really cool what he's doing. I think
I wasn't here for that talk.
No,
but
you weren't. So, Mike, the Reader's Digest was Mike's Gripes, which is a great title for a blog, Mike.
Mike's
if you're watching
Gripes.
Mike's Gripes. But his whole thing was what we've always talked about of the fostering a community for musicians, and it's a response to the toxic jams and open mics of all genres.
Let's shred.
Yeah, whether it's the Chop Fest jazz jams or the anyone come regardless of ability blues and rock open mics, which are a snoozer for most of us, or they all serve their place. But I think what we got from Mike was that there's no community in it, and I agree. Like I respond. I think that's why I like going and doing those with him so much, is that I feel that I've always felt that about the jams, and that there's no community in it, and
It's the wrong kind of community.
well,
It's a
yeah, if
competitive
there's-
thing.
Exactly. It's not meant to be a competitive sport, and that's how it comes across. You get your 3 songs to show your shit, and
Play every
that's-
note you know.
Yeah,
And more.
Now, every now and then you'll get those jams where it's all of us, and you know who I mean by us. And Kevin's now in that us, but Charlie and you and Mike Westbrooks, all the pro players that happen to be off on a Tuesday and show up to that one jam, and then you get that cool night where we're all trading back and forth and jumping on and on. Oh shit, I know this song.
It's
and
a
jumping up there.
conversation.
That's
Yeah.
a blast. But
Yes.
they're usually not that. So I think that's what Mike's trying to build. It's a shame he's so far from Atlanta, because I think you'd have a better time of it. But it's worth the drive.
Totally. And he's also, his whole attitude is what makes it too. It's
Yep.
about creativity, about the goals, which are purely creative. And I mean, pure is a good word for it.
That's absolutely what it is. Yeah. There's no ulterior motive or plan. It's
We're
just
not
be
marketing,
creative.
we're selling, we're creating, we're making. And that to me is the most exciting part about it. And that, he's a great drummer, great engineer, great guitar player.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he fosters that community spirit. He makes it easy to gather and create. I've said it.
Yeah, no, that pretty much covers it. I think he said on his interview, which I think kind of sums up what Soundhouse is to him, that he decided to stop doing video because he was worried that everyone was worried about how they looked.
Yes.
And that's perfect. That when you realize something like that's there, you just stop fucking doing it. That's because it was taking away from the creativity. It was taking away from that. And that's, I mean, the two that I've done with you guys, we had no plan. We went in, we just kind of plugged in, and somebody had an idea, and we ran with it, and that happened.
Developed it.
There
Suddenly
was no
it's a song.
conversation about it. We just kind of started doing it, and by the end of the day, we got a song or two out of it.
And I love that sense of something from nothing.
Yeah.
It's
Truly
magic.
something from nothing, not, oh, well, he's got this idea of a song and we're going to build it. It's we go in at zero and let it happen and make smooth jazz. He gave me shit for calling it smooth jazz, but that's what it is.
It's not. Yeah, but it's good stuff. I enjoy it a lot. I just like his whole idea of it being a regular thing. You can count on this magical factory of newness, of cool.
Recharge the batteries.
Air sculpture. Man.
Yeah,
we're sculpting the air in a rhythmic, repetitive way. That's appealing.
Yeah.
Air sculpture. That's a great description.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any wild tales before? Because we've been going for a while here.
Oh wow!
Does that say 2 hours there, or is that not
we're
right?
on the second hour, the third minute.
Started
of the second
at 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's been an hour.
It's
though.
been a little over an hour. Yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, any I don't know if you want to talk about Max's stories.
Yeah, I don't know if you can top Max. Yeah, you said you hadn't listened to his episode yet.
No.
He apparently got blown in the alley behind Maxwell's by some random drunk bar girl.
Yeah.
Right on.
And so
And as he's starting to go there, Colin and I look at each like,
we're both like, oh shit.
oh fuck, he's
Oh,
going
shit.
there. He's going there.
Oh yeah.
My I want this on a t-shirt. My favorite thing Max said in that episode, and he was cool with us airing it, so I'm going to talk about it, was she domed me up behind the trash can.
Domes me.
Well,
I want that
Didn't
on a
that?
t-shirt.
Oh jeez. But so yeah, can you top that?
No, I can't top that. I've been around. Nick's was a famous place for all sorts of things going
kinds of
in
stuff.
in the bathrooms, in the parking lot,
in the bar. Yeah, Nick's was.
But I wasn't part of that so much.
I found out at Nick's at 19 that Coke dealers refer to their product as T-shirts. When a guy came through asking if I wanted to buy a T-shirt, and I was like, "Oh, like, are you in a band or what?" What do you mean?
I did that before.
He's like, no, man, T-shirts. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm
wearing
Yeah,
one.
like, dude, no, I don't
good,
need
like,
T-shirts.
Like
That's what
T-shirts
I
for the
did.
bar, like Nick's T-shirts. And he's like, blow, man. And I'm like, blow. What?
Blow
Excuse me?
May I spell it out
Yeah,
for
what
you,
are we-
sir?
He's like, I've got cocaine for sale. I was like, oh, no, thank you. No, I'm good. But yeah. Nick's definitely. There's lots. Everybody that's played Nick's has a story.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there was.
Oh dear.
So what's yours?
The back porch. Well, see, that's I ain't gonna dish like that.
Joe doesn't dome and tell.
I don't dome and tell. I spent the last 20 years married with kids, so just playing guitar, playing bass, playing it out there.
That is your sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
No, pretty much.
Yeah, right on.
I'm not gonna dish there.
Well, we know your current gig. What are your future plans? What's on the horizon?
I'm moving to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, fuck yeah, you are. Don't tease, you dickhole.
I don't know. My future is wide open. Last fall, Barry Richmond's singer quit to move on to other pastors, and so I started singing for the Barry Richmond band, playing keyboard and singing. It's ever evolving. I've been doing solo gigs on keyboard. I'm not really sure. That's why I like the sound house, because it's a way to funnel some of my creativity and into a constructive way to build something. Whereas frequently I feel like going out and doing another bar gig is not doing anything that's going to get me anything more than a meal and
Part of why Kevin and I want to start the podcast. Have a new outlet of creativity.
Yeah.
and make some stuff that's a little more permanent.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Cool.
that's, my new album will be in 2021.
That's next year.
Hopefully it'll be out before
Yes.
mine.
I hope.
Right on, man.
All right.
Well, any parting words for the loving people?
Hi, Mom.
It's mostly Mike. It's Mike Boutte and Charlie.
Yeah,
It's
Mike and
what's
Charlie.
watching.
I think, and Truett. I think maybe
Truett, yeah, Truett
watches.
seems to watch every episode.
I love every one of them. Every one of them.
We've had a good run so far. We haven't had a
Fantastic.
dud yet. I don't see it happening since we get to pick who, but we've had a really good run of guests so far.
And I'm sure you got a backlog of coming up because
we can announce now Jeff Jensen is booked of Jeff Jensen Band and Tennessee Redemption. And
awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's going to be in March. Larry Griffith is coming up, which I can only imagine the stories he's going to tell.
I play with him too.
Yes, yeah, you and I have both
done stints.
Done stints with the Larry Griffith Band, and I'm looking forward to it. He's always been able to spin a yarn, so I'm sure he'll have great stories. So.
Dude's a jukebox.
Yeah, we've got. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that because I've never seen a guy with a longer
set list.
Yeah, hundreds of 400 or 500 songs.
Singing them, everyone. Lyrics.
No iPad lyrics from
books.
Valhalla. Like it's just.
Wow.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
He'll sit there and do every 70s funk song in a medley, and he knows every word. There's no notes. I mean, I'm sitting here just like, Jesus Christ, how does this guy know this many songs?
Some people have knacks for things. He has such a knack for lyrics, such a gift.
He just knows them.
John Cimino is a
yeah.
friend of mine, bass player from State College. He was that type of a guy.
It's crazy.
It's like, how many songs do
I don't know
you
the lyrics to my own fucking songs. We were laughing about that at Route 61. I had my iPad out from my songs. I wrote them, and I don't know
Scroll down
the
to
words.
verse 2.
Yeah. No, and he knows every song ever written, basically. That's
Jensen, cool. You're going to have him all
yeah,
stacked up.
No, it's going to be good.
Looking forward
But
to
yeah, everybody, Joel Edwards, our first in-studio
it.
guest.
In studio.
At Rebel Bass Studios Mark II.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, buddy.
My pleasure.
Have a safe trip back
Bye,
to
Mom.
Georgia with me.
Look, see, Mike Boutte already, he just liked the photo.
Yeah, there it is.
He's the one of two people listening.
Mike!
Yay, Mike!
You're the man!
But anyway, we'll see you guys next week.
Right on.
I think I'm sticking to you.